Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
My wife is reading a book. It's a very interesting book. There's an area in London called the East End. Anybody know anything about London? No, that's not nowhere near. Yeah. All right, it's nice. But no, she's not. That's nowhere near. Anyway, the East End was world famous because it was extremely poor neighborhood. Extremely poor neighborhood. The people lived in such schreckliche poverty. Now I'll tell you, in the United States, when people came over, most people, they got off of, in fact, the yeshiva, years ago, we set up a thing that they watched a movie called Fiddler on the Roof. It was a play. It was made into a movie. It's been since then redone many times as a play. So the Olam saw Fiddler on the Roof, which is what it was like in Europe leading up to the war, or leading up to people having to leave. It was what it was like. It was the Jews. Fiddler on the Roof is really about the Jews. It was in Russia, in the Cossacks. Excuse me? Is what? All right, it's nice. Yeah. The concept is, what it was like for the people living in poverty there, and then they get to leave. And a lot of people left and they went to America. And when you got to America, you ended up in Ellis Island. And then from Ellis Island, you had to get able to pass all your tests that you're healthy and you had somebody who's going to support you, or at least, be responsible for you financially, and help you get jobs and a place to live. Somebody's going to take care of you. And then if you got all that, then you could end up in New York. In New York, typically people moved into what in America, the east side of Manhattan. So in London, you didn't have to go through all that, but bottom line is, when you were there and people got in, they stayed in this area called the East End. And it was really horribly difficult situations. You guys could not even imagine it. In fact, the yeshiva went back, when we went, like I said, we set up a thing. Everyone saw Fiddler on the Roof. And then we went to Ellis Island, and we went to the Statue of Liberty, but went to the Ellis Island. And then from Ellis Island, we went to the east side. And there's something that they built called the Tenement Museum. Heard of the tenements? Tenements were...
It was made during the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, so what happened? What were the tenements?
What do you mean?
What were tenements?
Oh, they were like basically owners, building owners. They wanted to have more people live in each, so they made more families,
Yes, they had apartments that were really tight, low ceilings, packed, lots of, and then they didn't care. You could have 14 people living in that little teeny apartment, taking turns. People slept on chairs. I mean, we went to visit a tenement. What they did with the tenement museum, they took a tenement house, one of them. That's what somebody did with this, foundation, and they turned it back into. You can go in and see what it looked like. Mamish everything, all the food and the different things that they had from then. And they have two of the apartments that they have an actress or an actor who pretends like they live in the apartment, and you come in and you schmooze with them. And you can ask them all kinds of questions, and they make it as if they're living right then and that time. So they know everything about the neighborhood, and they ask you, they tell you all these different things, and you ask them whatever questions. It's fascinating, but you get a feeling about the poverty. And what I wanted to share with you is that this book that she's reading, she told me the biggest focus of it is it's really on a group of women who are basically midwives. You know what a midwife is? To help somebody give birth. They had other things to help people, give birth, but they did it for everything pretty natural in the person's tenement. In that, like a little room where their bedroom is, and they did it right there. They didn't go to a hospital. So they would go to the people's homes, if you call it a home. I mean, it's a little apartment. Teeny. Impossibly, shocking how small. Everybody, the whole floor shared one bathroom. Not just one bathroom. All it was a toilet. A closet, you go in, there's a toilet. And each floor had one toilet imagine 14 people living in an apartment, and imagine maybe four or so apartments on each floor, and then there's one toilet. And there's people get sick, and then there's only like 4 toilets for the whole building. It's crazy. It was like, but that's just nothing. That's like one thing. And then there were fires, and there was smoke, and it would pass through the whole building, and you get people dying, all kinds of stories. But the poverty was tremendous. And these midwives go into these people's homes, which are so poor, and to help them have more children, and help them with the child and go through it, and then get back into life a little bit and come visit them to help them out a little bit. And what do you think that did to these midwives? How did it make them feel? Good? When you're walking into poverty, I mean, serious poverty. You pick up something and 50 roaches run away from underneath the plate. What do you think that's like when everything is like that? People there's no money for food, there's no money. Huh?
Everybody will be sick.
Yeah, besides the sick, how did they feel emotionally? Depressed. Sad. Feel bad for the people. Oh, the suicide thing, it's an interesting thing you bring up. No one had thought that. Anyway, but it's a good thing to note. Anyway, depression, sadness, feeling bad for the people, and that just is it's a downer. And every time you just go from house to house, what's it like? Another downer. And what's fascinating is these women did not let it affect them. That's what's fascinating. They didn't let it affect them. How is it that they did not let that depression enter them? They made no money. They did it for free. Wow. Ouch. Next. What's the next idea? Because they weren't getting paid.
Care about people.
Caring about people. Good one. They felt bad, but feeling bad doesn't make you not feel depressed. When you see somebody who's suffering and all year round is suffering, it makes you feel just the suffering. It gets into you. How did they protect themselves and not become depressed?
They made themselves happy.
What did you say?
They made themselves happy.
They made themselves happy. They forced themselves to be happy.
They're happy with what they had.
No, wasn't enough. They didn't have. They also were living in poverty.
You have to have a certain mindset when you're doing it.
What does that mean? You have a certain mind. What does that mean? Those are fancy words.
It will get better.
It will get better? No, it probably wouldn't. They looked at these people and said, this is miserable. Yes.
They were happy helping other people.
Yes and no. They were happy helping other people, but when you're around misery all the time, it just takes a toll on you. It just does. When you're around people who are miserable, it takes a toll. So what can you do to not let it make you depressed? So you said, think positive. You said, keep yourself happy.
Say something good about someone else.
Say something good about someone else. These are all very nice things, but They're just like, yeah, it helps for a little while.
Be accomplished.
Be accomplished, nice. I don't know if it says, wow, we had 50 ladies have babies today. Yay, we're accomplished. More poverty. They focused on bringing babies into the world, but when you walk in, you can't just be focused on that. Then what happens when you're not delivering a baby?
About the good side.
The good side, but you walk in, you see poverty, it's very difficult to feel that way. The good side, you're surrounded by misery. You're surrounded by people getting sick and dying. And yes. So how are you mechazik? It's very nice. So say, oh, you can do this. That's true, but the words are cheap. After a while, words don't work. Yeah.
Take joy from the new life again.
The new life, the new baby. That's a nice idea. You're saying, look, a beautiful new baby. You don't realize they're bringing a baby into poverty with very little hope for the future. I know, it's a tough one.
Because they don't want to go back. They don't want to go back to England.
Who doesn't?
People there living in the
Yeah, so what do you do for yourself? You are living amongst the people who are miserable. People are very, very, very poor, very sad, they don't have much. It's not, you're right, it's not just about the things that they don't have. It's more about the life that they have, which is so miserable. What can you do for yourself to not become depressed? Yes. Surround yourself with happy people. That's a good start, but how do the people that are happy not start falling? We have a group of people. We're going to be happy. Huh? Smile. These are all things we've talked about, which they work a little bit. I hate to say it, gentlemen. This is a very big lesson. You need to force yourself to be happy. Ouch! Like what? I'm going to be happy, darn it! What is that going to work?
Stay happy.
You have to force yourself to stay happy. You have to do things to be happy. You have to make it happy. You have to be lebedik. You have to force happiness. Even though I'm not in the mood, you need to do things that will make you feel a little bit happy and then work in a group. Because alone, the depression knocks out the weak ones. So the weak ones, and everybody has to stick together and force themselves to be happy. Do happy things. You're right, focus on happy thoughts. Even though sometimes it's a little bit crazy. You're surrounded by misery. You come into filth. And you've just got to force yourself. You have to have a schedule. You have to have goals. You have to force yourself. Cannot let it attack me. You have to look at depression almost as an enemy attacking you. The depression is an enemy and it's coming in. Imagine we're in this room. And outside these windows is this enemy, this black, dangerous, scary enemy, ominous, called depression. And it's trying to get in and it's clawing at the windows. And it's scraping at the walls. And somebody, one of us, is going to let it in the door or open the window. What are you going to do? You what?
Fight it.
You don't do that. No, you're not going to tell him to stop. You're crazy. It's a monster.
Fight it.
You go, I don't know. I guess I'll just let him open the window. So what are you going to do? No, I guess I won't. What are you going to do?
Fight.
Get away from that window. You crazy? Get back here. Let's dance. Let's do something. He goes, no, let depression in. You grab that guy, because you know as soon as he's lost, now you're down one. your groups are smaller. So you grab them, you say, come on, let's do something. Get focused, refocus on something else. Let's go, Overtake. Ha, let's make Hanukkah cookies. Let's do. Got to do something to keep everybody somewhat happy. Let's make something, let's cook something, let's build something, let's clean something. Cleaning! Let's clean. Clean makes me happy. No, it doesn't, but it keeps me focused instead of outside that other thing. When you walk in and the room is dirty, how do you feel? Depressed. When you have no schedule, how do you feel? If you like let things slide and you're all over the place, how do you feel? And leads to depression. If you're not being creative, you know what you end up feeling? Depressed.
Stupid.
Yeah, okay. Stupid, which leads to depression. The point is depression. Okay? That's what you got to do, guys. You got to force yourself and keep yourself away from that depression. And everybody is vulnerable. Anybody can be attacked by the depression. You just have to keep together, stick together, and help each other out to not get depressed. And when you see someone else is depressed, you know if they get depressed, it's going to be like, yeah, it's going to be catchy. Not just one less, it's going to be catchy. Because now you're depressed and you lost that guy too. So what do you got to do? Levity, come on, let's dance. Let's create a song. Let's sing a song. Let's write a song. Let's learn a song. Let's do anything. And you go, smile. Smile, let's smile. Come on. Let's play the smiling game. Who can smile the longest? Let's see who can not be smiling the longest. Anything to keep them focused on not getting depressed from outside. Because that depression is so dangerous. Because once it happens, man, that person, no turning back. It's so hard to pull the person away from the depression. And that is what those midwives did. For years and years and years, literally, from the 50s through the 60s, about 20 or so years, more, 30 years, maybe more. The book is only a snapshot of about 15 years. But there were like literally a generation or two of women who used to do it before them were still part of it.
After that, we're still in the
No, after them it was over because they tore down the whole East End. My family lived in the East End. My great-grandfather with my grandparents, my grandfather and great-uncles. And they lived in one of those tenements. Until they moved to the United States when they lived in another tenement. That's right. No, they lived in New York for a little while and in Ohio until finally they were able to buy some dump, really, in Cleveland. And then, whatever, until they bought a tenement and then they rented it out to more people. But seriously, gentlemen, cannot let yourself get pulled away, attacked by the depression. You've got to force yourself. You could go like this. It's not good. You know that's not going to lead you to a good place. Got to pull yourself up. Stand up. Run, go for a run. Jog. Walk around the block. Don't let yourself. You know there are people that do that. You got to try to help them out. But even if you can't, don't let yourself. Don't let it happen. Tell the guy, hey, let's go for a walk. We'll walk up and down the block. We'll walk around the block. We'll climb that trailer thing up and down a bunch of times. Let's come up with some ideas. Let's move. Let's do it. But you cannot let yourself get caught up, dragged down by the depression. So, as soon as you feel it happening a little bit, do something. And listen, today's a beautiful day. But there are days that it is just rainy. And what do you got to do? Do something. Do something. Go running in the rain. I don't know. Go do something. I've done that many times. Pouring rain. Pouring. Soaked. Because I just said, nope, gonna do it. I don't care. Going. Until the lightning bolts were like kind of around me, and then I go, okay, I think I'm gonna stand underneath that covered area. But as long as there were no lightning bolts, back out. Let's go. Not letting it happen. That's what you gotta do. All right, gentlemen? Let's think positive. Let's have a great day.